The weather is getting colder by the day. Winter is approaching. As you make your way into the local inn, you notice that the sun is already setting. Each day starts to last shorter than the one that came before. Around you are farmers, peasants, and traveling merchants enjoying their drinks. You sit down at an empty table and listen to what the other patrons of the inn are talking about, while a traveling musician starts playing his lute in the corner of the room. As the time passes and the peasants around you get drunker and start to attempt to find their way back home, you notice that it starts to become very quiet outside. The only sounds you can hear is the wind whistling through the pine trees and a few drunk farmers trying to scare each other with some local scary stories. One of the farmers, who was wearing a straw hat, seems to be trying to convince the others not to leave. Instead, he wants them to stay at the inn for the night, for he is convinced there is someone or something outside. Suddenly, you hear a screech coming from the woods, and everyone at the inn stops talking. After a moment of silence, the farmer with the straw hat whispered to his friends, "I told you there was something out there. From little is sick, don't go outside." Nervous looks were exchanged, as the two farmers who sat with him were contemplating what to do next. For tonight wasn't just any night. Tonight is Saovine. In the real world, today is Halloween. So I decided to cover the subject most closely related to this day in The Witcher. Saovine is the last day of the elven calendar, before the start of their new year. It is a day filled with superstition, as well as traditions. This feast takes place around the end of October and the start of November in the human calendar. But you're probably more interested in the tales people tell each other about this night, rather than the more technical side of it. So, let's go over all the special events that are supposed to take place on this night. Saovine is seen as a terrible, yet magical night. While it is said that on this night terrors and phantoms roam freely, it is also said that all sorts of predictions and prophecies are better and easier to interpret. From reading the palm of someone's hand, looking at cards to see omens, or to observe the intestines of a rabbit or a dead bat. It is believed that on this day you should spend the evening at night with your family at home, next to a warm fire. For it is claimed by some that on this night spirits walk the earth, roaming the wilderness looking for villages and homes. They'll knock on doors and windows to be let in, for they, who are the dead, that come from another world, want to sneak in and warm themselves by the fire and eat their fill. These spirits do not take kindly to people who make fun of them, for they are very vindictive. The tradition has arisen for people to leave a bowl of food outside of their homes to please the spirits, for if they are not fed, they might try to enter your home after midnight. Saovine is also known for the banshees that on this day will go around and screech to indicate that someone will die in the year that is to come. We saw an example of this in a book, where a character heard the screams of a banshee not long before dying. It is seen by many to be very unwise to leave one's home on this night, especially if they decide to enter the woods, for there are monsters aplenty on this night. Walking across the cemetery is also seen as very unwise, for it is believed that on this day the dead come back to life, and you'll make for an easy meal if you walk straight into their home. But there are more beliefs to this night. Like, for example, peasants will hang a new iron knife over the threshold of their home, which is supposed to prevent spirits from crossing. Mothers are told to keep their children close, for some believe that a rusalka might steal them or turn them into mutants. And pregnant women are told to stay home, for their child might become a striga and will devour its mother with its iron teeth. But there are also some more positive beliefs to this night. Like, for example, it is believed that on Saovine, it is the last night until February when ghosts can fly and wights would be awake. It was believed that digging a hole for treasure was safer after Saovine, because the wights that might try to kill you when digging around would be in hibernation this time. It was said that the strong winds on this night would be the work of witches who seed the air behind them with potions as they fly on their broomsticks. It is believed that on Saovine, black cats can become horses as dark as the night. Whoever crosses a witch on a black horse will not make it till sunrise. And with that, we'll switch to the events on Saovine in 1267, when a group of 4 mercenaries and bandits in the service of Stefan Skellen spent their night in the tavern of Dundare in Ebbing. And it all took place right after they were told about a witch on a black horse. Risbat Lapointe, who had gone out on the porch to relieve himself, returned at a run with a face white as snow. He was gesticulating frantically, pointing at the door. He didn't manage to utter a word. There was no need. A horse neighing loudly from the courtyard. "The black mare," said Fripp, his face almost struck to the parchment. "The same mare. It's her." "A witch? It's Falka, you dolt. It's her ghost," whispered, sucked in the air. "A phantom. She can't have survived. She died and returned as a spectre, on the night of Samhain." "She will come at night, like a black pal," muttered the beggar, pressing the empty mug to his belly. "And who shall meet her will not avoid death." "Weapons! Get your weapons," Fripp said excitedly. "Quickly! Cover the door from both sides." "Don't you understand? We've struck lucky. Volka doesn't know about us. She's come here to get warm. Cold and hunger have driven her out of her hideout, straight into our arms. Taniol and Reens will shower us with gold. Get your weapons." The door creaked. The beggar hunched over the table and squinted. His sight was poor. His eyes were old and ruined, fogged and chronically sore. On top of that, it was gloomy and smoky in the tavern. So the beggar could barely see the slender figure that entered the main chamber from the hallway, dressed in a jerkin of muskrat pelts, wearing a hood and a shawl which covered her face. The beggar had good hearing though. He heard the soft cry of one of the serving wenches, the clatter of the other clogs, and the innkeeper's hushed curse. He heard the scraping of the sword in the scabbard, and Cyprian Fripp's quiet, scornful voice. "We have you, Falka. Didn't expect us here, did you?" "Oh, yes, I did," the beggar heard, and he trembled at the sound of her voice. She saw the slender figure move, and heard a sigh of terror. The muffled scream of one of the wenches. He couldn't have seen that a girl named Falka had removed her hood and shawl. He couldn't see her hideous disfigured face, or her eyes painted all around with a paste of soot and grease, like a demon's. "I am not Falka," said the girl. The beggar saw her fast, blurred movements, saw something shine fierily in the light of the cresset. "I am Ciri of Kaer. I'm a witcher, and I've come here to kill you." Ciri made quick work of the man, and the beggar who had been telling them stories about Samhain or Saovine told her that she was the personification of death. To bring a kind of end to this video, we have to go over some of the rumors surrounding Saovine. For example, it is also believed that incubi, the male version of the succubi, only appear on Saovine. a claim which has never either been confirmed or denied. It is also said that they will burn small effigies of Valka in the north on this day. However, I couldn't find a source for this. The Witcher's Saovine is based on Samhain from the Gaelic holiday. The name Samhain is also used to describe this day in the English translation of the books. But I decided to use Saovine because I want to create a bit of a separation between the 2 days, to create a bit more difference. And yes, as you're probably aware, Samhain is believed to be responsible for several Halloween traditions. Have a spooky night. Bye.